sorry.
Welcome everybody. I'm Karakia to read. Te tawa mai I runga, te tawa mai I raro, te tawa mai I roto, te tawa mai I waho. Kia tau ai te Māori tū, te Māori ora ki te katoa. Hau mai e hui e taiki. Which means come forth from above, below, within, and from the environment. Vitality and well-being for all, strengthened in unity. The intent is to harness collective energy. I have an apology for lateness from Nicol. Unfortunately, his old dog has passed away and he has to minister the last rites this morning. And he'll be a little bit late.
It's a second dog.
I don't have an apology to ask, so did anybody get that?
No. Yes, one's come through this morning from Alistair. Apologies.
Okay. So can I move those, please?
Yes.
Nick, Lyndall, and a seconder from Jeremy. Thank you. Any declarations of interest today? No public forum petitions or deputations. Okay, minutes of the 29th of November. I'd like to move over a full report. Bill and seconded Jeremy. Please say aye.
Aye.
Extraordinary item for business. Any of those or any questions? I haven't been advised of any questions. So we'll go on to the reports. And item number 1. And we have Jane here to lead us through this. Morning, Jane.
Good morning, Carol. Paula has an apology for this meeting, so she's asked me to report on her part as well. So, from the IM perspective, Information Management, is that they are tracking well to all their work programs that they have for this year, and that we are working through a migration plan to develop the decommissioning of all the legacy applications and servers that we have. So that's it's a joint project between IM and IS, so working very closely in that. So, and they were the main highlights from Paula's report for this month. Is there anything in specifically that you wish to question in the IM report? If not, I'll move to
Deciding whether it's a question or a statement. Thanks, Chairman. Couple of things on page 10.
Yes.
The budget dependent digitisation pilot project.
Yes.
What kind of scale of budgetary dependence is that? Is that a big spend?
It is a massive spend, yes, but it's significant numbers.
Over a number of years or?
Yes, and I'm not fully all over that whole project. I've got no bits of it. Dom, are you?
Yeah, the purpose of the for the scoping for this initial part of the project was to get a sense of one that demands the digitalisation we put on the organisation for resource and for dollars. The original estimates at the time were the scanning itself would take place over 2 or 3 years. It would be in excess of $1 million just to get the document scanned. And so they took the approach to stand back, do a little proof of concept, focus on some priority documents to get in. Once they've finished that and done the review, then they'll assess the merit in terms of the dollar investment and people investment continuing that project.
Okay, so we've kind of considered that in OTP already. And a second one, if I can, Chairman, I suppose it's another part of that actually. So the digital preservation strategy that's got orange there, is that the same? Is it the same or different process to the one we've just been talking about?
belief is that it is connected to that project, along with there's physical artifacts that are about as well. So it's part of, like there's old film, there's old DVDs, there's old negatives that need to be preserved through that project as well. So that's my understanding of that. But we can get further clarification.
Yeah, if there's a link,
yes,
that would be helpful.
Yeah.
Thanks, Chairman.
Phil?
Yeah, I was kind of it's a curiosity, probably more than a challenging question, but at the top of page 12, it talks about the number of legacy servers that have been decommissioned.
Oh yes, yes.
Yeah, so a further 3 decommissioned in Q2 and 21 servers still to be upgraded. I'm just curious, how many total has been decommissioned so far? I'm just trying to put in context, how much of the work does that represent? Is that 3 legacy services and 4 legacy services in the previous quarter? What's the total quantum?
Yes, so the total one, so I'll move on to my report. And then,
Oh, right, okay,
Yeah, so
gotcha.
that's all right, I was going to address that through there. So answering your question, there's 28 servers in total.
Right, gotcha.
And so we have, over the 2 quarters, done 7. And I can word that a little bit better so that makes that clearer. And the really good news on that is that last week we did a further 7.
Okay.
So we're actually really moving through that project really well. So
And what
Great
happens to a
report.
decommissioned server? Do they become landfill?
no. So these servers are virtual servers. So
Right.
part of our virtual environment. So when we talk about decommissioning, it's moving the data off that server and we've moved it to newer repositories, and then we just turn it off.
Right.
Yeah. So
Okay,
we take a full backup of that server so that if anybody ever needed to go in, if we got any questions on, what was on that server, we've got that
okay,
a full backup that keeps forever for that, and we just turn it off.
okay. Gotcha. Thank you.
So it releases resources
Yeah.
back into the environment, which then ties in with that VxRail Flex on Demand project. That the Flex on Demand is all about we pay for what we use.
Right.
And so that's where that correlation is. So we're saving, we're moving the data off and saving, and there's some cost savings in it as well.
Thank you.
Jeremy?
Just with cyber security, I'm not
Yes.
saying this because I don't have a computer in front of me.
Best security.
I see we're non-approved software was trying to install councillors behaving.
Yes.
It's not the councillor's issue.
No, it's
isn't
not a
that?
councillor issue on that
We
one.
have been known to push the wrong buttons.
Yes,
and-
yeah, no, and the great thing with our software is that it alerted us immediately. And so again, we were able to react really quickly and go and see the person and find out what they were doing. They were trying to install something that is in our non-approved list. And so then we were able to then have that conversation and go and put the right software on that they actually needed. So we're finding it extremely valuable. There's been a couple of occasions where that sort of behaviour has happened. People will try things. People can do things. That's the thing. So the other thing I'd like to highlight, I'm not sure that yesterday was a good example of it, but we have decked out the chambers with new equipment. A couple of teething problems, so apologies for that. The sound hopefully is better and that you will hear a lot better, simpler for starting the meetings. The report secretaries now have a device there that they can control the meeting from and everything. So, and the camera is being slightly moved back further just so that it does capture the whole room. As you can see, it just about captures this whole room as it is.
The skinny version.
Yeah, skinny version. The big version is, it's a big room. And so, yeah.
So Jane, can the people in the back hear the conversation? Some people have a very soft voice. It's all right. Yeah, you can see you've got all those speakers.
Yeah,
up
so
on.
those speakers are all new, so that's the idea behind that, is for those that don't have loud booming voices like some of us. Easier
Quieten
to
us
hear.
down when we start yelling too.
The only
Mute.
thing, the
Press
warning I
mute.
do give is that whispering will be picked up. So the whole room has been configured, the meeting, people can reconfigure the room and it automatically, so different layouts have different mics. So yeah, but just be mindful, it's sensitive. Yes.
Well done, whoever. Well done, whoever.
I have one question.
Yes.
And it relates to the email that I got, or the bogus email that I got the other day. And apparently I've had a couple of those and other people probably get them as well. What's the likely origin of those and what is the best thing to do with them?
It's just phishing and just deleting them is great. Thanks for letting us know because we can then try and block those. But I mean, these people are smart. They've got nothing to do with their time and they're just smart and they just, you get them from banks, you get them from NZTA, and some of them look really, really real. And so it is hard and it's just about being really diligent around going, is this Nichols language? Is this how he would, write something? Is this the type of thing that he would do? And you just, if in doubt, don't open it. And if in doubt, definitely don't click on something.
But we don't have to forward them on to you or anything like that.
No, the system, if it's obvious and there is a phishing URL that's known, it will stop it. So it gets blocked at the gateway. But as in my report over here, if we look at the metrics, like last quarter, we had 55,000 emails come in and 39,000 of them were rejected. So, we're stopping a lot at the border, but there's still, it's just the enormity of it, and unfortunately some people are a little bit smarter than the tools that we've got today, but as soon as those get reported, then tomorrow that one will get stopped, but another one will come through.
As part of that, just as the odd nasty one can sneak through, is it also the case that the odd legitimate one gets blocked and doesn't get through?
So they get held up and then the team have an hourly task or 2 hourly tasks to go and have a look at those. So like this morning there was 14 held up, probably legitimate emails. So the team have a look at them. They then ascertain to whether it's a phishing email or is it real, is it legit? And I'd say that we 99.99% of the time get that bit right, occasionally there might be something that gets stopped. But anything with, language or funny attachments or attachments that can't be scanned within the software, it gets held up. And we release, and that's a manual release.
Yeah, if I can just follow that point about the manual release, is there anything coming that will enable to free up the staff? Because that's quite a responsibility and quite a time-consuming kind of a thing to have staff manually checking everything. Is there something likely to be coming?
We've got the smartest tools, and they're improving those tools all the time, so that it's now got AI over those tools. So it's doing some intelligence over the.
It's still always going to need a person.
Still always going to need a person. Yeah, there is an option within it to allow you to self-release, and we see that as a slight danger because you might not always be quite as diligent as what we are. As a general whole.
I'm not suggesting I am allowed to do that. Thank you.
One last thing, Objective Connect.
Yes.
I wonder if other councillors have trouble with that.
All the time.
I seem to get duplicate copies of notices and I get notified that things are being deleted, which I suppose it's okay, but you need to know about that. Do you think that it's working well? Have you?
I haven't heard anything to the contrary of that it's not.
It's very secure.
It's 100% secure. You can change the notifications. So let's have a look at what your notifications are, and you can change them so you only get them daily or weekly. I don't suggest that you change them to weekly because then you'll miss any items. I know part of the agenda management software, there is an opportunity of changing how we distribute those papers in the future. So, that's a good thing to bring, into the review is, is Connect the right tool?
I think,
Other people are fine, then it's probably just me, but so I'm happy to cope with that.
but I think, through you, Mr. Chair, the, one of the things that appears to happen is you'll get a notification on the same document, but with a different time, and it just makes me wonder if someone's gone back in to open it or edit it or update something, and then it resends you a notification on the same document, so you can have 3 or 4 notifications.
I'll certainly talk to Shannon about how
I
those
think
are.
you receive a new notification when the document's been updated, and you receive notifications when the documents have been deleted, and you can turn those off.
Right.
So as long as you go in, you're always getting the most updated version. If you don't print them off as reference and always use them online, then there's no reason why you should get any of those we've removed or we've changed. So we can turn those off if you don't mind.
I think leave it as it is for the time being.
No problems. With the updating though, I think I'll read the document and then it comes in an update and I go, what's been updated on it?
Updated, yeah.
And then you have to read the whole thing.
Yeah.
Find a
Yeah,
couple
well,
of
that's
words,
what-
or, I don't know.
So there's a
I
good
don't
point.
know what's been updated.
We don't necessarily
Sometimes
want
maybe an
a full text
explanation.
changes version,
Yeah.
but
No, but there's, so let's take those points offline and actually take that feedback on board, because potentially there's, this bit's been changed for this reason. And the email that goes out.
Yesterday, when Lyndall thought the meeting started at 10, actually started at 9, I had in my calendar that we had a workshop at 9 and the meeting started at 10 as well. So when I was here for the workshop, and here we go, the meeting starts. Well, okay, I'm here, so that's all right.
So another enhancement that we've done this year is that we've introduced the ES calendar. And so that's giving us better oversight and management of all meetings. And I think there's been some updates, obviously, that's been made that hasn't synchronised through, just from what I understand about yesterday. So let's make sure that everybody is getting the most up-to-date meeting.
I did have the day before the council workshop that I obviously had clicked, sent a reply saying yes, I accept it,
Yes.
but it hadn't gone into my diary, into my phone, so I didn't know there was a workshop, and that's why I was
Oh, okay.
sort of grief.
It's-
And no computer,
best
no
clothes on.
nothing.
Best clothes
From
on,
the field
yes.
day with Jean, so there was I don't know why it wasn't, I obviously had clicked the respond, but it didn't come up on my phone diary or on my calendar, so.
Just going back to the financial implications of the projects that we talked about earlier. Is that an add-on budget, or is there something that is going to have to be delayed or missed out because we need to do that work?
So that's part of that business case that needs to be completed, that, the return on investment, the value, the risk, and all of that. And it'll be through that transformation budget.
Right, yeah, I guess I'm just asking if you're going to need more money.
Yeah.
Or are you going to be able to, are you intending to do new work using your existing budget, which would mean that something's going to have to go? Is that?
Amy?
Yeah, look, I think that's the conversation, right? We don't know yet. We need to finish doing
Okay.
the pilot, doing the assessment. And then, there's always a range of new projects coming in, and it's about making some sort of prioritisation first and foremost. And then if there is, it's the conversation then about, do we actually need to do this? All of these things at the same time. How do we prioritise? And if we can't, then there's a conversation about,
What are we not going to do?
what are we not going to do?
Thank you.
Don?
Just one of the things I suppose that pleases Jane most about working in IT is when things don't go well, they're incredibly visible to everybody. But when things do go well, they're not
Notices.
noticeable. Nobody notices. And so the last dot point, second last dot point on bottom page 14 is around the core system availability up 100%. Now, these are the things that people just take for granted, that the systems are always going to be there available. And so whilst, there might be some high profile glitches with some of this new tech and new processes, the core applications that run this business have been up 100% time. And so these are the kind of things that they don't get any spotlight or any time in the sun. But I guess in light of the earlier conversation, it's probably worth pointing out as well. Some things have gone really, really well
Yeah.
in that space too.
And our patching program, you know, that is going
Yeah.
extremely well. So
I actually wrote in my notes,
I see.
don't stress, beside the meeting room experience, I've got don't stress. So don't worry.
Well, I think quite a lot of discussion about things, some things perhaps a little bit peripheral. But, Don, we were talking before about possibly changing this, this report. Was that what I-
There's the RSHL.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, you're jumping off to,
Oh, no,
No.
this one, in terms of the content of it or the,
oh, no, sorry, that was the entire F&P pack. So we're looking at the content of all the reports that are submitted to F&P. So we're just going through a review where we're looking at, and this is one of the reports, obviously, we're going to look at the type of information that's presented, the style that's presented, and the time and frequency. So we're just revisiting the entire pack just to make sure that the information is relevant, and it's getting the key messages across that we need to. So yes, sorry, Morris, yeah, we're
At
looking
the
at
right
that.
time.
Yeah, and at the right time, absolutely.
okay, would somebody like to move the recommendation, Jeremy? And Lyndall, seconded, all those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Carried.
thank you very much.
Right, investment report, today we have Tracy and Jody, welcome.
Yeah.
Right, thank you very much. If you'd like to highlight things in this report you'd like to draw our attention to.
Thank you, Chair, and good morning, everyone. So I'll take the investment report as read. Just draw out some highlights for you. So from the summary on page 16, there's a really strong performance in December. And the portfolio increased in value by about 900K. Just to note that this is mostly capital change, which is unrealized gain, about 800, and the balance is actual realized dividends and income. And then over to the statement of position, you'll notice the short-term deposits call account is a 7 million increase. And this is due to the annual rates that come out in October and the due date's end of November. And then just draw your attention to the benchmark graph at the bottom of page 17, actual performance versus benchmark. At our last committee meeting, we noted that the actuals didn't really match the total. And the reason was it was presented quarterly, actual benchmarks, all the equities and bonds, but the total was the rolling year. So there was a question brought up at the last meeting. And the reason for that is we had investigated it, and JB have changed software, just the methodology of it was presented quarterly instead of the rolling year. So we've gone back to what it was. This is all rolling results, not the quarter results. And you'll notice at the bottom, actual 12.4% against the benchmark 11.6%, so almost 1% ahead of the market benchmark, which is very good. This monthly income graph on page 18 is really good. It shows the volatility in the space, shows you the spark of income in December, and the orange shows the capital change or the unrealized. You'll see it's very high compared to the actual realized income, the little blue bar graph. So there's an attachment from JB, just outlines performance, market, and also our portfolio summary. It's a good read if you want to look over it. They're just highlighting our performance is good compared to the market. We are where we expected. Their stock selection, they feel, was good. And looking forward, very hard to predict what is going to happen. That's why we take a conservative approach to our budgeting and forecasting. Our fund manager for JB Weir visits typically twice a year, one in person and one virtually. So we have booked him in for the next one, pencil in. Any questions on the investment report?
Thanks, Chairman. Slightly off piste. I was at a different organisation's finance and audit meeting recently, and they also have funds managed by JB Weir. And we were made aware that there's been a consolidation between JB Weir and Jarden. I'm wondering if A, if you're aware of that, and B, what that consolidation might mean for us.
No, I'm not aware. Have you heard?
Yeah, so Tanya was made aware of it, and she's been liaising with JB Weir, but at this point, haven't noted it down as any particular concern for us at the moment, but we are heading into a period very shortly where we're going to be reviewing the fund managers that we have for the portfolio, and at that point there we'll do a bit more of a deep dive into
Yeah, I just
what that means.
didn't bring my notes with me, but there was a comment about the different style of focus that Jarden traditionally have, and I can't remember exactly what it was now, but I think maybe that's worth just investigating, because it might just skew how they approach our investments.
It's probably quite timely if it comes to that next meeting in May.
Yeah, because JB Weir themselves will have a better handle on what that consolidation has meant for them. Thanks,
We
Chairman.
still have to comply with our directions, a couple of them.
Yes, but when you've got different people in the mix
Yeah.
and different priorities, perhaps, who knows?
I didn't say before, but John said that Tanya has got COVID in her family, so she's staying away, and just in
Gosh,
case.
there's a lot of it around, so.
Yep.
I was going to ask about the graph on page 18. You've got the blue line as the dividends. That's not.
So the blue line is the gross income. So that's between both.
The dividends.
The little bar,
Oh,
the bar above the line or below the line, the blue bar is the dividends and interest.
okay.
So the little legend or the key at the bottom, it just says dividends ... It should be an interest, dividends and interest. So the little,
I see. Okay.
so to make it clearer.
That's the portfolio, isn't it?
That's a portfolio, yes.
Okay. Sorry. Yeah, didn't do it right. Thank you. Jeremy?
Do you know as of the end of January what the managed funds was valued?
Balance was.
Yeah, just,
Sorry, not offhand, but it would be very, very similar to what it was, which is.
yeah, so usually you get a
Sorry,
just
yes, that's right. So
rough idea of where
we are.
funds was, but, certainly,
No,
it's
very
always good.
close.
Just make comment, it's amazing how well these managed funds have done in the past, and you wonder why you have any money, and these guys, they seem to do very well. These managed fund managers certainly good returns back for us. So it's quite good to see.
In a strange universe
I know.
that they're operating in at the moment.
Did you say it's strange what you have any money in South?
Oh, yeah, no, but no, not Southport. But it just shows that I'm saying they seem to do very well. Well, I have been very good.
They have.
Let's not dig a hole here. So,
All right, thank you very much, Tracy.
Thank you.
Jody, for that information. Anybody like to move the
I will.
recommendation? Lyndall? Seconded by Phil. All those in favour?
Aye.
And the finance report, 9.3.
So in Tanya's absence, I'm going to take you through this one. So I'm going to largely take the report as read, but just wanted to run through a few key highlights in addition to the material variances that are narrated on page 26. So just going to page 27 for the revenue and expense statement. Overall, you'll see there's a favourable operating position of 6.7 million. This is compared to 490k unfavourable at the end of September. So there's quite a big shift in this final quarter of the year. This has resulted from increased other income through the marine fees being currently ahead of budget. Approximately 260,000 of the other income is offsetting the additional spend in the contractors space at the moment. This is for additional projects that have been picked up that have the corresponding funding that go with them. So you'll see once we apply that offset into the contractors, that those contractors are actually on target for year to date. So the unfavourable variance in people costs is a timing difference due to leave accrual just around that December period, and that's largely balanced out again in January. So the balance of that favourable shift up to the 1.6 million was the portfolio balance, which Tracy has already covered off. So as you said, there was 900k just in the December month. So, but overall, for the quarter, it's actually almost shifted by just about 1.5 million in those 3 months. So it just really shows that volatility that we're still getting through that space. So if I'm just moving on to the forecast, and we can cover off all questions at once there. So overall, we are forecasting an additional surplus of 422,000. At this stage, we are keeping relatively conservative. We're only halfway through the year. There's still a lot of unknowns that could go on. The summer spending is dependent on weather and contractor availability, which can heavily affect the remaining 6 months. And all of this we expect to be a lot clearer for when we're doing our next forecast. The additional income, we forecasted an additional approximately $1 million, but then we've also forecast an additional spend of approximately 1 million. So as I'd covered off the contractor offset with their income, we're expecting to be about 500,000 in total. So that's sort of accounting for half of that additional spend in that space. And then the balance of the overall additional surplus there is again related back to the portfolio. So that's actually reflected at the December period. We had realised gains above budget of about 450,000. So we're expecting that to flow through. And we're still, as you know, we don't budget for the unrealised gains in that area. So all of this put together, we are still maintaining quite a large focus within the organisation on cost management so that we can meet that overall end of line expectation. Was there questions on this part before we moved on to that? Yep.
Jeremy?
Just a quick question. When you said there's $1 million more in contractors spent or budget spent, is that more work being done? Just extra costs associated with the project?
It's a combination of both. So some of it was additional work that we have that corresponding funding specifically for, and then the other part of that is additional costs and all of that to do with getting the road done.
Okay. And just another question again, the people costs.
Yeah.
In regards, are we pushing pretty on it? Pushing. It's obviously liability on our books. In regards to holidays, are we getting them down overall, like on a per employee basis?
So I think over the last few years, because we have done a wee bit of analysis on that, because we sort of are keeping quite a big focus on that at the moment. So we have noticed over the last few years, and I think actually as a flow on from the COVID times when nobody took leave, that the balances have been increasing, but there is a really strong push around the organisation of making sure that people take their leave, not just to balance the numbers, but actually, from a staff wellbeing point of view as well. And so whilst this is quite high for December, it does drop down to, I think, about 90k in January.
Right.
So there is a huge emphasis on people taking their time.
Yeah.
Just to support that response, as at the end of December, I think there was only one person in the organisation that had 5 weeks annual leave outstanding or greater. So everyone else was in that 2 to 3 was. So the high leave balances are absolutely managed for all the reasons above, not just financial.
So you're almost within the current year then, like of employment that
Yep.
that you're dealing with there.
Yep. So
Pretty
as
good.
we led into December, there might have been 12, I think, prior to going into that. And so we hit December and people do tend to take reasonably long breaks over that December, January period.
Anything else? Jody, Don did explain this to me, but perhaps for everybody else's benefit as well, it's the other income of just over 1 million, more than expected. That's government projects and things, is it?
So they're a different classification to the government funded project that we sort of see below the line, but they are the covered off portion of that with those contractor additional projects, which are externally funded.
Right.
Yeah, so there is a portion within that of the marine fee that's currently above budget at December, but then there is the additional projects as well.
Thanks. Any other questions on that? Okay.
So if we just sort of turn over into the position and cash flow statements. It means on the balance of position, we can see our cash from end of June up to end of December has grown quite a bit, which again, Tracy has covered with the discussion there about the rates collection, which is sort of the timing and what we would expect to see. So that's really good. A lot of the other movement is reasonably consistent. We can see the managed funds is up to almost $30 million. And again, depending on that volatility, will depend how it grows or if it grows over the remaining 6 months, but hopefully. And then just shifting down, we can see the employee entitlements, which is what we've previously discussed around the increased leave over that December-January period. So that has slightly gone up from the September quarter. In terms of cash flow, this is obviously positively impacted by the rates that have been received this quarter, which is leaving us in a stronger net cash position. And at this time, our forecast to the end of June still remains unchanged with expected net debt of 10.4 million. So currently we're actually reviewing how to fund that, whether we're doing that through a short-term facility or through the drawdown through the LGFA that we have available as well. Is there any questions on that?
Jeremy?
Is it just within those two facilities, are they pretty close, the interest rates? Like
I think they are really. I know that with LGFA as an organisation, it's established to provide us with a better rate, but they are really quite approximate in terms of fees and things like that. So
Okay, anything else? What else have we got there, Jody?
I think we've sort of
That's based on having
covered
moved.
with that cash flow. So just
Working on. Very much.
Just to help with the debtors report,
we
Tracy,
just-
to touch on.
Yeah, let's look at the cash flow.
Yeah.
So good.
Yeah, there's the details.
yeah. Doing with the tag team here, so I'll swap back over to Tracy to take the debtors part.
So just moving on to page 33. The top table is the sundry debtors report. So you'll notice there's an increase in past due debt in 90 days plus. From September quarter, we last reported is about 190K. So the main reason for this is that annual charges invoiced in September, and that is the reason for the 90 plus day increasing from September quarter. Overall, the percentage, you'll see it's lower, 7% in comparison to last year. But the reason for that is because we had the current balance is inflated because we invoiced MBIE for 3 million climate resilience grants. That's the reason for that percentage going down. And rates debtors. There's a positive decrease in net rates outstanding column from last year, about 300K down, which is really good. John, you drew it out last quarter. We've got additional resource in the team now, specifically looking for debt collection. And it seems a high number that has been sent to debt collection, but of that, you'll note 60% actually paid in full. So we don't go down legal avenues. It's our last resort. We really try everything available before we commence legal action. So, any questions on?
Orlando?
Yeah, just, I probably should know the answer to this, but the legal action, what cost is there to us? I'm assuming they have to pay some court
There is
costs
the cost,
themselves,
yes.
but we must have
So
some
we
cost.
pay them on what they recover as a percentage.
Right. And anything that goes to court, how does that?
Debt recovery, yes, at this stage we cover those costs.
Jeremy?
Just reading into this about I'm just interested to tease out the 531 are in the mortgagee process. It's under stress in the system. And just looking at that as, I don't know if that's more than usual or just understanding finances of the community and things too, which is actually quite a good number to understand. I take it, I work it out to about 1% of our rate, over 1% of our rate pays.
Yeah.
Is that higher than it has been? Or if we had known that data, it's actually a good indicator of stress
It
and
is.
paying rates. And
Yes.
they're managed, but I don't know, I'm just trying to say, is there
Yes,
actually
yes.
information there to say, this actually number is increasing, this is what the community's going through, especially when they're setting rates and things like that. So no use sometimes throwing high rates out there, sometimes when people can't pay too. That's what we're dealing with, that situation. So is there, I'm asking, has it changed? Have we got that data to see that change, or is it just
So
standard that
DMC,
1% of
we
our
could
community?
investigate the data over the last, compared to last year. We just haven't done it here. There's definitely with a dedicated resource now that area, whereas before it hasn't been managed as carefully. So that's the reason for, that we are getting the rates down. But if you'd like a comparison of those in the mortgage process specifically.
It's just interesting, like, I love numbers, but also from a point that's going to be interesting, we should be able to say what they are, who they are, you know, as in what area of the community they are. Just,
Are you suggesting, Jeremy, that it might be utility to us in other decision-making areas if we understood that it was pressure emerging in a particular sector, like for instance, this is particular beekeepers or
like whatever, and you might be saying, we're actually, these people are under huge stress, can we
Yes.
put
And often when it gets to this stage, you'll get an influx of phone calls. Just a letter to say, thanks for taking up the phone, they pay, you know?
Yeah. But it is one of those things that this should be socially aware of our community,
Yes,
and
yes.
and we're talking about increase all TAs, everything's going to be more expensive, and you know, if you consciously know there are people that are getting seriously stressed, not paying, and we come along, here's some more. You know, that's the moral sort of thing when we're working with the whole community. Oh, it's just, it would be quite interesting.
Yeah.
So this is a snapshot of the information that comes to us from DMC, so it's just a condensed. There is more information available, and so we can look to do a bit of an insight paper around that, and probably to come to a workshop before, because our next meeting is not till May, and I think this
Understanding our
would
community
be quite useful earlier on. Yeah.
Well, it's important that we see any trends or risk points.
Absolutely.
Well, related to that, if you could explain the second paragraph of written. So there's been a total of 2,582 ratepayers sent to the DMC, that's the approval service. And 1,500 have paid in full. This equates to 60% of the total ratepayers sent to the DMCs. That can't be right. It's not 60% of all ratepayers have been sent there. It's only 60% of.
2,500.
No, it's the 60% of what was sent to DMC.
So 1,550 is 60% of 2,582. But that seems a lot of ratepayers that have been, we've only got about 5,000 ratepayers, haven't we?
No,
It's about
45,000.
45,000.
Yeah.
Acres.
50,000
50,000 roughly,
Oh, yes,
rating units, yeah.
missing a zero.
okay. It seems fairly
Yeah, perhaps it's
high.
confusing because the table above is in thousands, whereas this is exact number, it's not thousands, 2,582.
Yeah.
That's what I say, the mortgagee process is, it's about 1%.
Yep.
Only 2,500 out of 50,000.
5%.
So that's not, you're not worried about that? Is that similar to other regions?
Was a good point. I'm not sure. I haven't done that investigation, but can do.
Seems quite a
If
lot.
you'd
to
like,
me.
interested.
If I can just add, like,
Yeah.
you've 60% of them are paid, so you're only dealing with 40%, you only get 1,000.
Oh,
Once
yeah.
they get a cent, letter sent, they've paid, so
Yeah.
we're dealing with the other 40%, which is 1,000 ratepayers, which is only 2% of their total ratepayers.
But to have to be, have to be sent to the debt collection service, it seems.
I think maybe another important number in there is the 448 that are being actively managed.
It's the ones I want to have.
Yeah, that, we haven't left them out in the cold. Working with them to come to a solution, I assume, so that's really important, it speaks to
Very
Jeremy's
true.
point earlier.
Yeah, there's a very small number that are actually in the election, isn't there?
They're a very important number.
Yes.
In their community. Just flow on issues.
That's right.
People get to sort.
So it's not, you're saying it's not really a resistance to pay, it's just a forgetting to pay type of thing?
Yes, there's really a variety of reasons. The one sent to DMC is arrears debt, so that is after they sent in July, August, after the end of the financial year, and then pay for that year. Perhaps, there is definitely as you say, just what's going on in the region and hardship, for a variety of reasons.
Okay. Right, anything else? You want to try that? You have a thought?
So I think the activity performance reports there ties in, it's just us tying in the finances with the LTP report, but the LTP report is being presented slightly later in this pack.
For the charts and things, are we already happy to understand
Um,
those?
If I could just ask one question about that, there's kind of a broad trend in terms of the spending pattern in each of those activity areas. It seems to be well under 50% generally by the end of the first 6 months, which suggests do we normally sort of experience a bit of a surge in spending in the last 3 months of the financial year, as I imagine in some cases it's about keeping your powder dry a little bit with your budgets, or is that?
Yeah, Jody touched a little bit on it earlier on, that some of it is weather-based and
Yep.
and time of year, so we do see a pickup in there. Expenditure is kind of budgeted reasonably evenly across the 12 months, but in that back half, we do tend to see a pickup, which is in part the reason for more of a conservative approach to the forecast in December.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Anything else?
Just on, can I just make a comment, just reviewing what Philip's just said? Is that, I mean, one of the last is the regional leadership. In regards to that, which is probably quite important, and it seems to be community engagement and partnership effectiveness. And approving the policy statement, but, you know, is that a concern? Is it gonna be spent, I suppose? I'm just trying to understand that. It only seems to be at 36% of, you know, of budget. I suppose looking at how to, you know, I'm just looking at the titles, is it, you know, are we actually getting out there and doing it, you know, if that's leadership?
Yeah, I'll have to come back to.
Clarify
Yeah.
where it's not being spent, I suppose,
Yeah,
that's what I'm
what's
asking.
making up that expense item, yeah.
All good. But I'm happy to move that. I think it's the end of that. You want to move?
Thank you.
Second.
Seconded by Lyndall. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you, and welcome, Nicole. Sorry to hear about your loss. That's
A little bit flat,
that's sad. Yeah. Right. No, thank you much. Thanks very much, Jody and Tanya. Is that anything? And is that Tracy, is that everything?
So the next item, RSHL, Don will be looking at, and I'll be looking at the following ones.
So Regional Software Holdings, I think that's where we're up to now. Okay, so this is a fairly short item. Before we go into it, there's an additional point to add to the recommendation. If you look down to the second paragraph under statement of intent and interim report, it says the committee is requested to delegate this responsibility to the general manager. That's feedback for the draft SOI. So rather than this committee doing that directly, it's delegated to the general manager of business services. So that will be a second point we add into the recommendation. Right, Don?
Yep, and this is purely because of the timing of the, when the report has, the feedback has to be submitted back to RSHL and when the next FMP meeting is. Just on RSHL, they are having their board meeting today, and some of the things they're considering at that board meeting are that finally they've got audited annual accounts for 21-22 and 22-23, so finally been audited. We've seen the unaudited accounts sort of late last year and then the previous year before that. So they're being considered there, and then the statement of intent's being considered there as well. So post that meeting later this week, early next week, we'll have that and we'll work through that as we normally would, and summary of that feedback come back up through FMP in the 22 May meeting.
Yeah, just a quick question. The delegated responsibility is a one-off, right?
Yep.
Yeah, and that will be you.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you for that. Anybody else? Okay, so do you want to do both of these together then? All right.
Yep, I'll move.
Lyndall and Phil,
Aye.
9.5. Anything in this we'd like to highlight?
So the civic statement of intent is presented for information purposes only. They are not a CCO, so we don't need to approve a report. They are excluded under the Local Government Act because they New Zealand Local Government Insurance Corporation Limited, not a CCO. Just to bring out perhaps an item just in that paragraph where it speaks about the administration fees. They've been slightly reduced, 0.35 to 0.33. That affects the members only, and there's not many members, so it doesn't really affect us at all.
Okay. And you want to do that, Don?
No, that's pretty much it.
Any questions on that?
Move the recommendation, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Nicole. Seconder, Jeremy. Those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you very much. Tracy and Jody, long-term plan progress, Rachel.
Morning, everyone.
So this is the progress report through to the 31st of December, so 2 quarters of the year in now. And essentially it's collated updates from across the organisation, and you can see at the end of the second quarter the results were not dissimilar to the end of the first quarter, with a high confidence of completing the performance targets for 41 of the overall targets, medium confidence for 13 and low confidence for 1. In terms of those later targets, you'll see that a number of the measures relate to reviewing the effectiveness of our community engagement, and at the end of the first quarter we had looked at perhaps undertaking a review in alignment with our customer strategy development process. However, given the amount of community engagement that's currently underway, we've got the long-term plan engagement, plus we've had field days and events over the summer, we've got a revised approach and development around how we review the effectiveness of all of that engagement. So that is something we are now looking to get done in the remaining part of the financial year. There are some other targets that relate to the repeal of legislation or proposed changes. So one of the targets you'll see is linked to the National Policy Statement for Indigenous Biodiversity, which has been revoked, and the government has signalled a review of the National Policy Statement for Freshwater Management, so there's some reference to that in the commentary as well. But happy to take questions and answer anything that may have come up for you.
Thanks, Rachel. Air quality. Is doing the whole thing? Is it all right if we do the whole thing?
Yeah, absolutely.
So there's a red dot and that's on quarter 1, so we're up to quarter 2, and that's been resolved, I assume.
Yes, so we're looking, right, we had been pondering for the first quarter the effectiveness of undertaking a survey, but we're now looking at some alternative ways of capturing the same information without doing a survey necessarily, but as part of the development of the Winter Air Quality Campaign.
Does that also tie in with the community loan scheme tidy up?
Yes, so you'll see we've got an item plan for strategy and policy around equality monitoring for the second quarter of the year, and likewise the scheme, decision on the scheme, so it's coming through. Sorry, the fourth quarter of the year.
I was going to ask you about the report that was done by NIWA on the distribution of poor air quality in the city and how it floats around and is a little bit difficult to deal with. Is there any action coming from that report?
So I believe that will form part of Nick's update to you at the Strategy and Policy Committee meeting. So yeah, obviously our own science, but how the national science fits and any recommendations resulting from the science that's been undertaken.
Well,
Yeah, Rachel, I think I guess returning to that issue of community engagement, because I think for many of the councillors in a broader sense, it probably remains an area that some are concerned about. And I appreciate that we're kind of rethinking how to measure and evaluate that. But to me, it does seem like a really important one to continue to focus on. And so, yeah, I just think that might be one that if we can sort of keep sort of in the forefront of our thinking, and if there's anything that we can contribute to that as well. And I was wondering, we spoke about a baseline, but I was also wondering about benchmarking, how do others approach that? And I was just wondering if there's utility in considering sort of some benchmarking around this, because I do sense that in some particular areas, and I think of, for instance, youth engagement as one area that there's others who seem to probably be quite more effective than us on this one. And so, I guess I'm not asking a question, I'm just observing that I think it remains a really important one for us to remain focused on.
In terms of that benchmarking, councillor Morrison, are you competing against other regional councils or against councils more generally?
Well, I think there's, at a regional level, there's a benchmarking opportunity potentially with TAs, but I guess regional councils might make more sense with, and especially regional councils with large rural constituents as well, like whether it's the Taranaki or Horizons or places like that, or Hawke's Bay, regions that might be there may be some insights that we could take from those locations.
Just on the, the public meetings that were held, a while ago, we had meetings in the Cargill and in the Tautau, and there was hardly anybody there from the public. I guess you evaluate the effectiveness of that and look at better ways of connecting to people.
Yeah, all the activity we've undertaken and where we've had successes or perhaps where we haven't, and what learnings we can gain from that.
It's hard, isn't it? You get into people's houses, into their kitchens basically to communicate with them, and there's not enough resources for that, and people probably wouldn't want it anyway, but getting people to come out in an evening when they've got busy lives is still difficult.
Just two things if I can to follow that conversation. It's important also, and I don't mean to tell people to suck eggs, but it's important that we ask people how they want us to communicate with them. We cannot keep guessing what is the best way. So there might be an opportunity for some little kind of, I don't want to call them focus groups, but you know what I mean, to say, like, what's the best way to deal with communicating with, you people who are under 25, and talk to some people who are between 25 and 40 and say, what's the best way for us to get our information to you and to hear from you, because we have to do the listening. But, actually ask people how they want to hear from us, because that's obviously going to be seems to be pretty obvious. Anyway, my actual question is some of the double ambers, just wanted to be clear about how many of them are kind of beyond our control because we've had a change in central government, how much of that is actually just going to stay amber because we really don't know, right across all the categories, because otherwise it's looking like a very positive filled report. So how much of that is just going to be beyond our control, do we know?
It's $1 million question, Councillor Ludlow. So I don't know, Lucy, if you want to comment around the
She's
national.
disappeared.
She has disappeared. That's okay.
Right, yeah.
I waited until she'd gone. No.
I think by the time we do the next round of reporting, we should have a lot more certainty, but there is, as you know, yes, some things have been repealed and announcements made around things being reviewed, but there continues to be uncertainty and will be.
Is that cool?
Yes, I could. You see the red lines around some of those biodiversity things, but actually the government is saying they're going to review. So the SNAs are under question at the moment, so putting a hold on until we get some clear direction is sensible. So you get a red flag there, but actually it's external influences are having an effect on that.
We could, through you, Chair, potentially be a bit more explicit with the next report, how many are linked to national legislative.
Just to renote so that
I will do that. Thank you.
Yes, I had somebody come to our place in Otara. We've only got a couple of acres, but it's excuse me, it's mostly native forests, and there was no problem. Person came and looked over it, sent a report and said there were a few weeds there and gave us some recommendations of what we could do. But in some ways it's a bit like a comment I've made regarding the field days and the knowledge that people have of their patch. It's there. They've been living there a long time, and having somebody come along and say, you've got this and that and the other thing, is sort of can rub people up the wrong way. I mean, I wasn't worried, but I can imagine how it could somehow. So, the biodiversity reports are fine, but I'm not sure if they're achieving much really. I'll be negative about it. Anyway, that's just a comment, not really a question. Anything else?
I'm happy to move it if we're at that point, Chairman.
Sorry,
I'm happy to move the paper.
okay, are you happy with all of that, Rachel? Anything else?
Thank you for the input, councillors.
Okay, thank you for your work in that. Lyndall moves, seconded by Phil. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Next. Public excluded. Thank you.
So the motion is in accordance with section 48(1) of the Local Government Official Informations and Meetings Act 1987, and in particular interest protected by section 6 or 7 of that act. The public be excluded from the following parts of the proceedings of this meeting. 11.1, the confirmation of public excluded minutes from the committee meeting 29 November 2023, and 11.2, the Great South Draft Statement of Intent 2024 to 2027 report, and they are both under section 7.2H. I'll just stop the stream.